the other agents who were in this business, and they study teams and they study how things are done with their capologists. So it's a whole big thing. I'm not saying that the agents have something that you have over me. If I try to come in your job, experience, I would have to learn your job from you. I
But
can
you
go to
could,
YouTube,
but you
and you
can
can.
learn though, right? It is a
So
possibility
it's
that
definitely
somebody
learnable.
can learn what they
It's
do. Is that
learnable.
correct?
It is learnable, but in the real world,
Real world.
relationships matter.
Okay.
When you have relationships matter. When someone wants to come to you and say, Jody, well, man, we want to do this, we want to get you away from this and that. You like, man, I ain't got no relationship with you. I
Well,
don't know you.
let me ask you
Your
this,
word
Tony.
ain't good with me.
Let me ask you this, Tony. So relationships, right? So as long as we keep the relationships with the people that create the relationships, we're okay, huh? So we don't want no new people in the party, is what you're saying.
Okay,
No.
hold on, guys. We're live now on the TD Report. You are watching one of our production meetings. This is how we make the donuts on the TD Report. We give away trade secrets. Hey guys, I'm your host David Combs here with Tony Kennedy, creator of the show. This is his brainchild. Jody Coleman, our Midwest reporter. Jody is fresh back from the Senior Bowl, and this is the part of the season that I like, Jody. This is like the circle of life. Okay, we're all talking NFL right now, and the NFL is a bushel of apples.
Right.
It's a bushel. But the Senior Bowl, college football, that's the tree. That's where you get these apples that you put in this bushel.
Absolutely.
And you go to market with it. Talk to me about the experience. Was this your first Senior Bowl as far as being in person?
It was actually my first Senior Bowl, and I learned a lot by going down there, because if you look at some of the best players that were on the roster, they didn't actually play in the game because they felt like the practice is more important than it was to play in the game. And I will agree. Most NFL scouts and most GMs and coaches were at the practices, not necessarily the game. So some of the big names that was supposed to play didn't. I didn't. Now, this is the one thing that I'm very surprised at in this year's Senior Bowl. I didn't see a quarterback that's going to be selected on day one. I didn't see one quarterback in that game that will be selected in day one.
Okay.
And they said that's the first time in probably about 6 or 7 years that a quarterback that's normally a first, second, or third round guy was not participating. Last year they had Kenny Pickett. The other years they had other guys. But the quarterback that I wanted to see there was not there, and is Will Levis from Kentucky. He was not there. Not only was he not at the Senior Bowl, but he did not participate in his own bowl game. So the question for me, especially with the draft coming up in 2 months, the combine in a month, and the Senior Bowl, which I think would have gave a lot of people eyes on this guy and really how good this guy can be with different players that potentially can play on Sundays. I wonder if they're trying to hide something. I wonder if his agent is trying to hide something, because you got to think about it. He did not have a great senior year. He had 19 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. Of course, he played in the SEC, so he played against some of the best competition. But in some of the biggest games, he did not perform well. So I'm wondering what it is that they're trying to hide and why he didn't participate in the Senior Bowl.
Tony, let me do this. And great point, Jody, because I did want to talk about Will Levis. Will Levis doesn't play the Senior Bowl, okay? Doesn't do the practices, doesn't take the interview process, none of that, okay? Is he putting all his eggs in his basket for his actual pro day? Is that kind of what he's going to do, is play on his home field or play in his home, practice facility and work out with his wide receivers and try to work his way into that spot in the draft? What do you think, Tony?
So what Will Levis got and what most people should get, Will Levis has a good agent, because his agent has gotten info from the GMs to do everything that he's doing. Now, do I agree with it as a fan? Hell no. But as a business for his brand, I think this kid is playing it the correct way, because he knows that a person like Jody, a person like you, a person like Dev, They will eat at his game as soon as they see him practice. This, that, can he throw that out from this hash against this competition? All that stuff. He has one day, and all he has to do is get one throw, and then everybody going to go crazy, and they're going to put him in the top 20 to pick. That's all he has to do. He is, dude, when I tell you, he is playing chess with Bobby Fischer. That's what he's doing. Everybody else is playing Connect Four. He ain't worried about that. He about to get paid. And do I think he's going to be, from what I saw? No. But he has intel. And that comes from agents, general managers, player personnels. That's what we are, folks. Sorry.
Can I intervene for a moment on that, Dave?
Yeah, jump in there. I mean, this is the part of the show. This is the Jody Coleman show right here. You're the boots on the ground, baby. So, I mean, this is serious, guys. If you, I believe, me and Tony believe in this 100%. Tony, you played against Terry Kirby in college. You saw him on the field. He passed the eye test. Mm-hmm. You see what I'm saying? Don't tell me what the numbers say. Can this dude on the field play? And if I can see the guy play, I would take your word over anybody that hasn't seen the guy. Some dude in a blog in his aunt's basement or something. You saw these dudes play. You saw them go head up with each other in the drills. Tell me who impressed you.
A guy that really impressed me, and I think he probably grew his draft stock, was Chase Brown, running back from Illinois. I saw a lot of Austin Eckler. I saw a lot of Austin Eckler in that kid, and it wasn't his running ability. I think everybody know that he can run the ball. He averaged over 5 yards a carry. It was his ability to catch out the backfield, and most importantly, a lot of running backs, a lot of young running backs. If you're listening, Tony, you can help me out with this. Can you pass protect? And it looked like he understood the pass protections. He was always in the right spot. And I think that's one of the guys that, to me, one of them, another guy that really impressed me during this whole Senior Bowl process was a young man named Aubrey Miller Jr. Remember that name. He's a linebacker from Jackson State. He was a guy that he was sideline to sideline. He was making explosive plays. He was the leader on the defensive side of the ball. He had 6 tackles. He had 5 solo, 1 assisted. That's a kid that, listen, he can go in the 4th round, and you'd be like, man, where did this kid come from? He reminds you a lot of Shaq Leonard, the guy that played. He didn't play it down for Indianapolis last year, but you know how good that guy is. Darius Leonard is his original name. And another guy, Evan Pace Jr. from Cincinnati. That guy was all over the field. He had 9 tackles in the game. And these are guys that you might get in the 5th or 6th round. You're like, who is this guy? They come in, they win a spot. Then in 3 years, we talk about him as a Pro Bowler. Those are the guys that really impressed me. I think they increased their draft stock. Not to mention the young kid from Florida A&M, because there were 2 HBCU kids. His last name is Hand. This guy, he seemed like he got a sack in the game. He had about 4 or 5 other pressures, and he was beating guys from D1 schools. He was beating those guys one-on-one. They couldn't block him. So those are the 4 guys I think really increased their draft capital in that game. And that's why it was so important for some of these guys that are on the cusp of being a 3rd, 4th, or 5th round pick to play in these games.
That's the thing. It's, you were seeing these guys and watching them at field level, okay? And you're watching them through the drills. Did you get any buzz from any of the player personnel people or some of the coaches that were around, just in terms of the quality of all of the guys out there, in terms of, the skills that they brought to the table, maybe some of the classroom work, the chalkboard work, the whiteboard work? What did you think?
I mean, I was around a lot of scouts. One from the Washington Commanders. There was one there from the Carolina Panthers, and one from the Baltimore Ravens. Ironically, were there, and I was kind of like, picking their brain about some of the guys. And what they were really interested in finding out was the speed of the game. Was the speed too fast for those guys? And they were saying they were really impressed with them being able to pick up this playbook within a week and be able to execute it. I think that was what they were most impressed with. But the unfortunate part of all this was a lot of these quarterbacks that were involved, like they had Hunden, he was there, but he was on the roster, but he didn't play, of course, because of his injury. But the thing that they were impressed with, that he was there, and he was trying to learn even despite not being able to play in the game. He was on the sidelines helping. I'm sorry?
Which quarterback did you say?
Hendon Hooker.
Hendon Hooker.
Hendon Hooker. He was there.
Hooker, yeah.
And he was helping with the coaching staff, and that really impressed a lot of those guys, especially the Washington Commanders scout. They were really looking at that like, man, this guy is showing a lot of leadership skills, because a lot of guys, like I said, opted out of this. He didn't have to come because, I mean, he's injured. He can't play, but he showed a lot of leadership by being there, helping out the quarterbacks that were there, being a great teammate. So I think those are some of the people. See, this is the stuff that I never got an opportunity to see, but actually being there at ground level and hearing what these guys are talking about, it was a great experience for me to do it, Dave. And I start to learn. I'm learning a lot of stuff about how the business is ran.
You know, guys, for our listeners, definitely catch Jody on TikTok, Against the Grain Sports. Some great TikToks that come across there. Jody does a great job with it, but obviously brings his passion, for what we do here at the TD Report. So we are blessed to have him on. Tony, when Hendon Hooker's name came up, I heard a great cry amongst the Virginia Tech Nation. I saw some ears pop up. You feeling okay, buddy?
You know why you saw some ears pop up? Because, see, folks, this is the reason why that when you believe in yourself and you believe what you can do, you never give up. And why I say this is I want to bring it back around. All of us who play ball, we've had athletes who so happen could play quarterback, but they were so athletic, they took them away from quarterback, right. and they put them at other positions. And Cody's and them generation is just a little bit better now. I mean, we're talking about 30 and under. But all of us who over 40, 45 years old, we didn't get to see that. And I want to probably put it started to change around McNabb. It really changed around Michael Vick when Michael Vick came out. And oddly enough, Michael Vick came to Virginia Tech. You would think that Virginia Tech would not give up on those style quarterbacks and just throw them out. And honestly, folks, he's within a play or two away from being a Heisman winner, and then he got hurt. I mean, let's be honest. That Hendon Hooker dude was leading the Heisman race for 3 weeks last year. And for them to say this guy cannot play, kids, parents, please don't give up. Find the right position for you. Find the right spot. Maybe Tech wasn't the school for him because of the coaching. Tennessee was the right school for him. And now look, Jody is down here watching this guy who will be drafted. He will be in someone's camp, and he will make someone's team once he's healthy. He went from being outcast at Virginia Tech, idiots, and I'll call my school an idiot for it, to he will be on someone's team. And, he should have won the Heisman had he not really gotten hurt last year. So,
well, you know what, Tony, I would say this too. And you make a great point for these youngsters out here. If you 15, 16, 17, trying to get you a scholarship, trying to earn yourself a spot to go to college to play, just find somebody that's going to let you play for them, that's going to give you some shoulder pads and a helmet, going to give you a uniform, and work your butt off when you get there. Have a great attitude, do whatever. Now, in Hendon Hooker's play, in his case, he did what he was supposed to do. Things weren't there for him at Virginia Tech. He found another school to go to. Okay, that's the Jalen Hurts model. Okay, sometimes you're somewhere, your arms are too short to box with God, and you at Alabama, there's nowhere else to go. You can't go up from there. You cannot go up.
No.
You take a slight step down to Oklahoma. You get with a guy that can mold an offense around what you do. Okay. Hey, I'm not going to throw it 50 times a game with you. I'm going to throw it about 25, but I'm going to run you out of the option, or put you in a read option situation, put you on the edge. What do you think, kid? Do I get a uniform? Yeah, come on over here. That's what they did at Oklahoma with, Lincoln Riley, who is obviously one of the hottest offensive minds in all of college football. So, and there were rumors that the Dallas Cowboys might take a shot at him as coach. There was always that rumor there that he could actually become a pro coach. the Cliff Kingsbury model when he was at Texas Tech and the things that he did with multiple quarterbacks as a coordinator and a head coach. Most notably, Pat Mahomes was one of his best college quarterbacks. So it all comes down to this. Guys like Baker Mayfield switched schools. Okay. Guys like Jalen Hurts had to switch schools. What are they doing right now? They're cashing NFL checks as quarterbacks. Laugh all you want at Baker Mayfield. He cashing checks. Okay. I'm an auditor. Okay. I ain't making fun of nobody that's cashing a check doing good at what they do. That's all I can say there. What do you think, Jody?
But you know what, Dave, and you were absolutely correct about finding the right spot, and Tony saying that find the right spot. But once again, I think it's all about the attitude. When I go back, and I think this is going to be a teaching moment when I see the Jalen Hurts interview, when they said, how did you feel when you got replaced by Tua? He said, we had to get the win. And when you got guys on your team and your organization that winning is the ultimate goal, I say this on the TD report all the time. I don't care if my quarterback had 2 yards. Did we win the game? Did we win the game? And that's what he was the first person. If you go back and look at that Georgia game, Tua threw the touchdown pass, ironically, to Devontae Smith. That is now Jalen Hurts' teammate. He throws that touchdown. They win the game, and ultimately he gets a national championship. Yeah, he had to move on. He was the first person on the field celebrating.
He ran the
He was the first person. How many times have we seen quarterbacks get benched and they go pout in the corner somewhere? I mean, a lot of what I love about that is self-reflection. He looked in the mirror and said, look, I'm not playing well. I can't get nothing off against this Georgia defense. But this guy, my partner I seen in the quarterback rooms with me, Tua can get it off. Because he looked off that safety like nobody's business. And he threw a strike down the sideline. That was a pass at that time Jalen Hurts couldn't make.
Yeah, I want to make sure that we understand something. Jalen Hurts, out of any quarterback I've seen in my lifetime, he gets the most out of his ability than I've seen. Because Hurts came from, when I was calling him a running back playing quarterback his first year, to where he ended up at Oklahoma, to when he got drafted, to where they molded the offense around him, and the people in Philly up to 2 years ago still said that it couldn't work. And now he's sitting there in the Super Bowl going against what we're calling the modern day best quarterback in the league. Hey, man, I mean, you got to take your hat off to that dude, man. That dude has gotten the most out of his ability than anyone else I've seen. And you got to give credit to Philly for believing in him and sticking with him.
Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni right now they have basically figured a lot of stuff out about the NFL. They figured a lot of things out about the NFL in such a way that they went from salary cap potential hell with Carson Wentz, got out of that, got into the Jalen Hurts market. So he's basically a growth stock. He's making NFL money, but he's making minimum wage for a quarterback, for a starting quarterback on an NFC championship team. Okay. And they built it up slowly. They don't have to pay him just yet, but they've been able to shore up so many other different positions. And the TD report, we were on that night, the draft day trade for AJ Brown, which really set their season off. And if you had told me, hey, this is going to be a 13-win team, Philly, if you had told me that, I probably wouldn't have taken that money. I wouldn't have. I would have said 12-5. You know what I'm saying? The NFC East, I thought was a little soft.
14.
Yeah, I would have even gone 13 because I'm a chicken. I'm scared.
Differences of management. So, guys, let's break this down. The differences of management. Dallas takes their number one receiver and sends him away for 6th round. Philly takes and gets a number one receiver. And honestly, that is probably the difference in both teams, because That offense you saw with Dallas this year, without Cooper, they went right back to 18 before they had Cooper. They were a roller coaster. When they had Cooper, they were not a roller coaster. They were a fine-tuned machine because Cooper was a fine-tuned, best route running out there. It showed in the San Francisco game. When your boy ran that out and that comeback was a timing route, if that's Cooper, he flips them hips, come back to that ball. At the very least, it's an incomplete pass. It's not an interception where the guy almost take it back because those are timing. Those are a precision route. That's a number one receiver who knows what to do, how to make that corner turn. And I know I need these 10 yards. Let me get them. That is the difference between both teams.
Tony, I definitely agree with what you just said, but I'm gonna go. This is more towards you, Dave. I still don't think that the Philadelphia Eagles believe in Jalen Hurts. And I know people out there like, what do you mean? You know how you believe in me in the NFL or any professional profession. You pay me. That's how I know you appreciate what I do for you as an organization is you don't waste time. Let me give you a scenario. When the Buffalo Bills found out Josh Allen, when they got him Stephon Diggs, he was the guy, they signed him after year 3. They didn't wait till year 4 and year 5. And we well know with Jalen Hurts, his contract is up next year because he was a second-round pick, so they don't get the 5th-year option. I get it. They probably believe in him now, but guess what? Today's price is not what yesterday's price would have been. So now you're going to have to put him as he's the best quarterback in the NFC. If anybody want to argue that, look up the stats. He's the best quarterback in the NFC. Arguably, we don't know what Aaron Rodgers is going to do, but guess what? Aaron Rodgers did not have a 300-yard game, and he's at home. He didn't even make the playoffs. So if you want, that's the only person I will put remotely close to him. I know we're talking Dak Prescott, but Dak Prescott is not the best quarterback in the division anymore. So he's going to ask for that type of money.
He
can't ask for. I'm sorry?
He had the best season this year.
That's what I'm saying.
His numbers aren't better than Stafford or Dak.
What you mean? This year?
This year.
Yeah, I'm talking about this year. He's the best quarterback in NFC right now. He's he's in the Super Bowl and he's proven it where he probably don't get hurt. He maybe wins the MVP if he doesn't get hurt. So now he's going to ask, because he's definitely the best quarterback in the division now, he's going to at least ask for Dak Prescott money.
Oh, no, he's going to play more than Dak.
He'll ask for more.
What I'm saying is he's going to at least want what he has or more. So he's going to ask for anywhere in the realm of about $44 to $45 million per year when you could have got him for about $30 million last year.
Well, they know what? After years with him.
I'm sorry?
Last year was his second year.
You could have signed him in the second year.
They could have signed him year 2.
Listen,
I think he only gets a 20. I think the max he could have gotten was like a 20% bump over his second year salary. Right. So, this is the Russell Wilson.
Russell Wilson. See,
this is the Russell Wilson thing. The Seahawks by rule could only give him the max of 20% over that second year salary.
You see,
okay. So they couldn't blow his salary up yet. They had to wait. But
so what I'm saying is catbird seat.
Huh?
He was sitting in the catbird seat because he knew he wasn't.
Yes, he is. Oh, no question. He has leverage. His management. Yes, Tony, I'm agreeing with you. His management, Tony, if we were managing this young man, by the way, he's the only NFL player with an all-female management team, and they're going to kick some ass when it comes time to sit down the table and sharpen them pencils. And good job, ladies. No hatred there. They are in the catbird seat. So the issue I have with what you said, Jody, and it's not an issue with you. The issue I have is this. Let's just play devil's advocate. Let's say Jalen Hurts has a bad game. It can happen in a Super Bowl. Everyone has a bad game in the Super Bowl sometime if you go back enough.
Yep.
How much does that impact the deal that he gets?
It shouldn't impact anything. I think he can do like what Dak Prescott went out in week 5 or 6 and came back and signed and inked a major deal. He got that deal because they knew how important he was to that team. If you take Jalen Hurts off this team, you see what happened when Jalen Hurts didn't play. You see what happened. They couldn't move the ball, the read option, the RPOs, none of that stuff worked. And Minshew is not a bad quarterback. He's not a bad backup. But
Not at all.
You see how they struggle. Jalen Hurts, the way that he makes the linebackers think twice when he could run, opens up.
Yeah, he keeps and Joe, we lost Jody there for just a second.
That he gives an extra second that a quarterback needs to get the ball off.
He freezes those linebackers, opens up those. He freezes the linebackers and opens up those gaps. Yeah, he opens up the gaps and keeps them from getting back in their drops in a passing scheme.
Now you got a passing lane. Now it's an easier pass to make. You don't have to thread the needle on every play when you got that linebacker that has to take that step up because you don't know if Jalen Hurts is going to take off for 75 yards.
Yeah, so, he keeps you. He keeps you honest in the flats.
Yeah.
Once he gets out to that edge, your linebacker that's out there in the flat that's looking at him, he can't bail out.
Right. He about to get paid either way.
Absolutely.
And hey, I have no problem with it. I think it's great. Look, I'm gonna flip the script real quick. If I was Lamar Jackson, I'd give them nice young ladies that work with Mr. Hurts. I'd be giving them a call and see what they could look at my portfolio and see what y'all can do for me. Get that phone. I'm serious, because at this point, the amount of money that Jalen Hurts will be looking at, if you are a Lamar Jackson and you're sitting there with a 45-16 starting record as a starting quarterback, and at this point, Tommy is going to blow me up for even saying it. I know his one-loss record really doesn't have a ton to do with how well he played because he has a defense. But I watched at least 4 games this year that Lamar Jackson played in that they should have won, where he put up 28, 35, almost 40 points, and they lost. And it wasn't because he threw an interception at the end. It basically came down to their defense couldn't keep up with those leads. You see what I'm saying? They scored so much that defense had to go back out on the field. And the Baltimore defense, I would say from weeks 2 through 14 was a wreck. 2 through 12. They got it together at the end. But they were winning largely based on, Lamar Jackson's excellence. So Bill West, our friend Bill West, big friend of the show, shout out to Bill West. By the way, Bill West never misses a show, but he don't ever call us. We need to get Bill on the show. Tony, can we talk to Bill? Does Bill love us? Bill don't love us no more? He ain't got love for us?
He in love with them. He in love with them Ravens.
Is this a source awards? You ain't got love for us now? You ain't got love? Listen, Baltimore Nation right now. You mentioned, Jody, that Baltimore had some representatives down at the Senior Bowl. Usually Baltimore drafts well. They tend to draft pretty well back from the Ozzie Newsome era. They tend to pick up guys that maybe are a little bit underrated, and they get them into their system and they get them to work. Okay. What you got, Tony? I'm sorry.
Tommy was saying on the show that Jalen Hurts has a lot of years left on his rookie deal. No, he doesn't. He doesn't. No, it doesn't. He's got 1, maybe 2 at the most. Maybe that because he like Jody mentioned, it was where he was drafted. It's where he's drafted. His rookie deal is over. He doesn't get the 5th-year option.
He only gets 4 years.
So
he's completed 3 years. So they either jump right now or they tag him. And I think they will jump to get him so they can work backwards to sign everyone else. I mean, I trust Philly's management more than I trust anybody else's management in the division.
I think what you have to do, Tony and Jody, I'll say this, is when you've got that big quarterback, the way that the league is working right now with these top-heavy rosters, with the quarterback up here at the top making the $25 to $30 to $40 million salary, is you do have to work a little bit backwards. But what you have to determine is, what side of the ball am I going to be young on? Where am I going to, because if you're going to do like the Dallas model, where they got young on defense, that's what they did. They paid Dak the money, and then the next 2 seasons, they must have drafted a minimum. They drafted 5 2 years ago on defense. Their first 5 picks were defensive guys. This year, they picked up another 3 or 4 guys on defense. So they're trying to get young on defense. And as you're getting older, they were getting old on defense anyway, so they had to get young on that side of the ball. But the key is that young talent coming out of college, that I'm going to use that analogy again, Jody. When you get that apple off the tree,
right,
gets a little old in the bushel. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it does. They're cheaper. They work for food.
But
but that comes down to coaching, though.
But the thing about Baltimore is what we have to understand, and I know it's a lot of Baltimore fans in the area. You know, is
they're gonna come after you if you say something they don't like.
No, I'll speak facts. They have tried to help Lamar Jackson. If you look at, they have drafted more position players in the first 3 rounds than they have ever did for Joe Flacco. They went and tried to get J.K. Dobbs in the second round. They went after Bateman in the first round. They went after Hollywood Brown in the first round. They went after Andrews in the third round. So they have tried to put pieces around. Unfortunately, those pieces either were injured or haven't really developed. Now, Andrews has turned into a top 5 tight end. Dobbins can't stay on the field. Bateman, he can't stay on the field. They traded away Hollywood Brown, so it's not like they haven't tried to help Lamar Jackson. Now, I know the offensive coordinator they just fired or they just replaced was not a guy that was friendly for wide receivers. But if you go back and look, Hollywood Brown had 90 catches for over 1,000 yards a year before he left. So, I mean, it's a lot of teams that would love that type of productivity out of a wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the issue that I have with the Ravens. Lamar Jackson going into his 5th year. If you did a blind resume and put him up against pretty much any quarterback in the league, name a quarterback in the league outside of his name is not Mahomes that won an MVP that is not getting paid handsomely. Because guess what? Aaron Rodgers done banked back-to-back $50 million deals, and he won an MVP.
Yes.
So I'm confused on who has done this, but it's a lot of guys that have already cashed in. I love Deshaun Watson, but Deshaun Watson ain't won an MVP.
Yep,
I love Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson ain't won an MVP.
I don't think you're not wrong. I think you're right. I think you're 100% right.
Let me tell you something. So, I'm pro Lamar, but I'm also pro Ravens management because I believe in good management. I think, just me, I think Lamar will be traded. I think he will be traded to a team who's ready to go right now. I think them trying to get an offensive coordinator in this offseason, they need to match their offensive coordinator with whoever they're going to trade with the quarterback or whatever draft they get. I think this relationship is over, and it's okay because I think the Ravens are going to be fine, and I think Lamar is going to go and get the money that he deserves. Because right now, if you tag him, and it's kind of disrespectful if you tagging him and talking about prove it to me. This ain't Kirk Cousins. I mean, this ain't the same tag. You don't tag me, and I was a unanimous MVP. That rarely happens.
He was incredible that year, dude. He was incredible.
To Brady once, it happened to Lamar. I don't know if it happened before then. A unanimous. It may have been Jim Brown. A unanimous MVP. So I think the relationship is over, and they've had a good time together. But now it's time for the Ravens to go get their quarterback and go draft and get whatever. But he's not. I will say it so we can relax. He will not play under the tag in Baltimore. That is a fact.
He'll sit out. Wait a minute. Hold on. We're saying this on the TD report. Are you saying that they're going to tag him and he's going to sit out? Is that what you're saying?
No, what I'm saying is Lamar will threaten them to where they will make a trade. He will not play under the tag in Baltimore. He will not play.
Okay.
This is
Cody,
my
cut
issue
that.
with
Cut the tape on that. Cut the tape on that. Make sure we get that.
Listen, this is the problem I got, Dave, Tony. This is the problem I got with that. Is you're saying that they'll make the trade wherever he goes, the Jets or Carolina, wherever he ends up. Atlanta is a hot spot everybody talking about. And let's say he goes to this team and he asks for a deal and he gets what he asked for. You know how disrespectful that is? And we go back to everybody keeps saying he needs to get an agent. But if he goes somewhere else, he's going to automatically get his money. So what are we talking about here? If he goes to Atlanta, so when he goes to Atlanta, because he's not going to go anywhere, he's not going to get what he's asking for. So let's say he goes to Atlanta. He goes to Atlanta, and day one he steps into that facility, they go ahead and give him his money. So why do we need an agent? He got an agent because it's not about his agent. It's not about none of this stuff we talking about. It's about the lack of respect that they have for Lamar Jackson as a quarterback. Let's call a spade a spade. If it wasn't for Lamar Jackson, Harbaugh would not have a job right now.
Correct.
He would have been fired because he was on the cusp of being fired. He saved Harbaugh's job. He saved Baltimore's reputation of being a legitimate team. He saved their reputation because they were on a road to going to being a mediocre team. They were on that way. It was a lot of guys that come and play because Lamar Jackson was in uniform for the Ravens. You take him out of that uniform, and we saw what happened with Huntley. Don't take that Pro Bowl with some bull crap. I ain't never seen a guy make a Pro Bowl with 2 touchdown passes. Give me a break.
It's terrible.
He went. They did not score over 17 points. When Lamar Jackson went out, they did not score more than 17 points. And, you know, ironically, they won 2 games. So that means the defense played completely lights out with a team not even scoring 17 points. So you gonna
got
tell
the defense fixed?
You gonna tell me you got this quarterback and Lamar Jackson that every offensive coordinator in the league fears? I don't care what y'all say. He ain't performed in the playoffs. First of all, he 1-3 in the playoffs. I get it. Give him a little bit of time because Peyton Manning didn't do that great in the playoffs either when he first started.
No, he did not.
But guess what? Y'all gave him an opportunity to keep going back. Give Lamar Jackson a little bit of time. Give him a little bit of time. Let him keep running that offense. Every time he's in there, he got hurt back-to-back season. He was in first place in both times. Not only was he in first place last year when he went out, he was the best team in the AFC. And that's with Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen playing quarterback out there. Joe Burrows was out there. He was over him too. So the lack of respect that y'all got for Lamar Jackson, if y'all trade him and he go get soon, because he's not going to no team, the Jets, he's not going to Atlanta, Carolina, without getting what he asking for. If he goes and gets what he asking for, Baltimore will have a curse over them. They will have the Bambino curse that's going to leave from Cleveland and probably go to y'all finally. Because if y'all don't pay that man, y'all gonna pay the price. Because quarterbacks don't grow on MVPs don't grow on trees. You want to know why? Drew Brees is one of the best quarterbacks of all time and never won an MVP.
That's true. That's right. Hey guys, let's move on to some NFL news. All right, let's turn the ticker on real quick. Tick, 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 tick. Great take, Jody. All right, let's talk about some of these NFL coaching moves. Some coordinators making some moves here. Brian Schottenheimer is going to be named as the offensive coordinator in Dallas. This is warmed over rice. This is, you know, Mike McCarthy's going to be calling the plays. Okay. Now you bring in Brian Schottenheimer, who has some experience. It's just kind of a milquetoast kind of. It's oatmeal with no brown sugar. It's
known for working with quarterbacks.
Is he the guy that can fix Dak Prescott? Because right now, I'm just throwing this out there. Dak is he's not seeing things right. That's why he's throwing some of these picks. He is literally not reading coverage right, and something isn't right with him. You see what I'm saying? I don't know what it is, but that interception bug got in there, and now I think it's terminal. I think at this point, when he throws the football, when it's not an interception, he's happy.
So Dave, Tony, so you go hire a guy. Has he won a Super Bowl, Schottenheimer? Has he been on a team that won a Super Bowl?
Nope.
He was with Seattle. I don't know if he was there when they won the Super Bowl. No.
I don't think so.
But we do know a guy that's available that actually was on the team that won the Super Bowl.
Bieniemy?
No, his name is Brian Leftwich, and he's available. I'm getting so sick and tired of these guys getting opportunity after opportunity and they don't have any success. But guess what? If you keep giving a guy opportunities, sooner or later he's going to have some success. I'm afraid that Leftwich won't even get an opportunity at no point. We already can cut out him being a head coach. We already can go ahead and say he's not going to get a head coaching job no time soon. So at the very least, can he get an offensive coordinator job? Let's go ahead and put this in perspective. The last 3 seasons, Super Bowl team, and they have won the division 3 seasons. So he's been to the Super Bowl and they won the division. I don't care they 8-9 because it's a guy with the Commanders that won the division with a losing record. He still got a job.
Why are they hiring?
You gonna go and get Schottenheimer?
Why are they hiring an offensive coordinator if your boy calling the plays?
Doesn't make sense to me. That's the part that doesn't make sense to me, Jody and Tony. Is it's almost like you're moving around deck chairs on the Titanic.
I will say, I love the Cowboys to death. If they had the management of the Steelers, if they had the management of the Eagles, they would be winning championships. Management makes a difference.
So, Tony,
in anything that you do in life, management makes a difference. If I'm lying, look at the teams who are successful. Let's look at their management. And I don't like Philly. I don't like Pittsburgh. I don't like Green Bay. I don't like any of them teams. But when you've always heard me list their management, hell, even the Giants, you always heard me listing their management is always better than what the Cowboys management is. Dallas is losing not because of players. Dallas is losing because of poorly being managed. And that right now is starting to show. It's starting to show, and it is growing because there's no way you let Cleveland sit over there with Cooper. I was going to die with Cooper one more year because I didn't have to pay nobody else. Now, I understand if you cut Cooper and you had to pay Parsons and Diggs and the rest of the crew.
They were still on rookie deals. They're still on rookie deals.
Management. And if people don't understand the sport, all the haters, well, Dallas, this and that, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of talking to people who don't know the sport. I'm going to start disrespecting them because if you don't know the sport, shut the F up. If you can't see the bad management that they have, that Jerry needs to not be the general manager. Because what the hell are you hiding Schottenheimer for?
So you traded
to come in here. I mean, what are we doing? What are we doing?
So you got rid of Kellen Moore and when it got Kellen Moore.
You got an older Kellen Moore is what you did. And listen, you do what you have to do in this league. So let's move off of that one. Let's talk about something that's I think is even more important. One of the first hires for the Indianapolis Colts, bringing in obviously bringing in a new coach. They're bringing in Wink Martindale as their defensive coordinator. Baltimore fans obviously very familiar with Wink. Wink was in Baltimore. He was in New York this year. Had a defense that was in the league, that was in the playoffs. And honestly, the New York Giants defense with a lot of young guys. They brought in Kayvon Thibodeau in the draft. An improving defense that we're looking forward to seeing, bring back some of the echoes of what New York Giants football was. He moves on. He's going to take the defense coordinator job in Indianapolis. I like this hire. I think he's a solid coordinator in this league. He should have a job, and this is a good place to be.
He's taking the coordinator, or
that's the rumor. Yeah, he's supposed to be the front runner for that D coordinator job.
Front runner for the head coach.
You like him better as the head coach, huh?
Is that what it said, Jody? Is he front runner for the head coach?
D coordinator.
So it's D coordinator. See, this is my perspective on the D coordinator because Indianapolis Colts are a top 10 defense. We got to understand that Shaq Leonard didn't play a down this year. We talking about perhaps the best linebacker in football. No disrespect to Fred Warner, but Shaq Leonard. Look at his numbers. He has put up numbers reminiscent of Derrick Brooks over his first few years in the league. And you take him out of the whole lineup and you put him back in there. You got DeForest Buckner. You got a good core of players on that defensive side of the ball. But in Indianapolis, the defense was never the problem. It was the offense. They got to find a quarterback. I don't care who you put on defense. I don't care if you go get Tony Dungy out of retirement. If you don't get somebody that can play quarterback for Indianapolis, who a team that's, I think it's 5 straight seasons with a different quarterback. You know, they keep getting quarterbacks off the scrap heap. They keep getting quarterbacks that got 1 year left in their career, and you think that that's what you're missing. So the whole term of the quarterback away, I think I'm gonna throw that away. I'm never gonna make that ever. I'm never gonna make that reference ever again, because as we can see, teams are more than a quarterback away. Because everybody like, what about when Tom Brady went to New England? Went to New England to Tampa Bay. Guess what they added? They added Antonio Brown. They added Rob Gronkowski. They added 2 offensive linemen. They added JPP on the defensive side. They added Ndamukong Suh on the defensive side. They drafted Antoine Winfield Jr. So let's stop saying it was just Tom Brady that went down to Tampa Bay and they won. They gonna say, well, what about Matthew Stafford on the Rams, Jody? Okay, guess who they had? Aaron Donald already. They went and signed what's my guy Von Miller. You go get Von Miller. You go sign OBJ. Come on, y'all. They had Jalen Ramsey already. So let's stop saying it was this one guy that's changing the trajectory of these teams. I get it. A quarterback is very important, but you got to get the right quarterback and quit saying it's just a quarterback, because we seen in Denver is much more than just a quarterback.
The Rams went all in, to assemble all that talent. You brought it up, Jody, and you're right. They went all in on that. Obviously, they're paying the price now because they got expensive. They got expensive and old real fast. Okay, they had to beg Aaron Donald. They had to beg Aaron Donald to come back. Aaron Donald was all but retired in the broadcast booth. I'm not saying he played bad. He just knew the work he had to do to be in shape. He said, I've done everything I can do in this league. I have my ring. I've got my MVPs, defensive MVPs. I'm a shoe-in Hall of Famer.
Right.
I'm a shoe-in, okay? I'm one of the best all time at my spot. People are comparing him, to the impact that some of the greats of the game have had. So, it's hard to motivate yourself once you've been to the top of that mountain. That's all I'm saying there. So let's talk about Brian Flores real quick.
Great job.
Defensive coordinator, linebackers coach in Pittsburgh, late of Miami. Now he's going to take over as defensive coordinator in Minnesota. This hire I like. Minnesota's defense was pathetic.
Awful.
Terrible.
Awful.
Abysmal.
This is a great hire, dude.
Honestly, you play like this, hey, bro. You play like this at you play like this at Bowie Boys Club. I'm gonna tell your mama could bring your uniform back. I ain't lying. You can't play for me like that. That was terrible.
I think this move can help them kind of keep steady the ship, because they believe it or not, Chicago's a couple moves away, and Detroit is right there.
They're right there.
Right there. And I think this will help Minnesota say, you know what? We got it, because they got talent. They just, for some reason, it just felt like something was missing with Minnesota on their defense. It just felt like they probably one of the worst 13-win teams I've ever seen in my life. You know
what they say down south, Tony? There wasn't enough pepper in that gumbo. You know what I'm saying? Just wasn't something right for all my New Orleans people. Wasn't something in that gumbo. Something missing.
I think
that sausage was sour that you put up in that gumbo. Someone right.
I think we're gonna look at this and see that this was one of the best.
I skipped dinner. I'm sorry.
I see.
I think this one of the best moves, man. I think
I like the move.
Right. He had Miami right. Obviously, you can see what they did when he was there, when he left. If he gets Minnesota defensively to what he had Miami to, Minnesota could be a problem.
He doesn't even see that. This is the thing I want to talk about on defense. If you've got a bad offense to start a year, whatever problems you have, offensive line, quarterback, it's hard to get those pieces to work. But on defense, you can fix a defense in 6 weeks and get them to where, look at what happened with the Washington Commanders. Last year, they were the worst third down conversion team in the league. You could convert your third downs on Washington easily. This year, number one. Okay. You can fix things and dial things around and build your scheme on a defense and make changes that positively impact your defense and gets your team off the field.
Mm-hmm.
It's harder to do it on an offense. If you had told me an offense coordinator needed to fix a bad offense and that's what he's got to do, I would say, buddy, I hope they're paying you double.
Mm-hmm.
This is I like Brian Flores because of course he had success as a head coach. He had success in Miami, but as long as you got Kirk Cousins throwing 3-yard check downs on the 4th and 8, it ain't nothing the defense gonna be able to do. I don't care if he get. I don't care what he does. He can be the top defense in the league, but if your offense becomes extremely predictable, if you look at the last 5 games of the season for Minnesota, they were one of the bottom half in running the ball, and you got Dalvin Cook at running back. Go look at the stats. He was he had a very bad stretch towards the end of the season. And not only do they have Cook at running back, they got Mathis. He's another good up and coming running back. That's a good change of pace back, and they still struggle running the football. And then you got Kirk Cousins. Like I said, Kirk Cousins is what you call him, peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You know what I'm saying? That what you call him, Tony?
Yeah, Christian, and I will say this: our friend Christian Darrisaw was hurt. He was hurt most of the year. Was in and out of the lineup, Tony and Jody.
Their O-line was a little banged up. And believe me, I'm not a Minnesota fan. I don't like Kirk Cousins. But at the same time, I'm looking at what was hurting on them. But you know what? Minnesota is like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. It ain't going to get you really full, but it will kill the hunger pain. And that's just it.
But you know what, Tony? Tony, this is the issue I got with Minnesota. Is because you making these analogies and you saying you giving every excuse of why their team is banged up. And guess what? When you get to week 13, every NFL team is banged up. I'm so sick and tired of people making these excuses for teams not performing well. Guess what? What a good coach does is make sure you prepare for week 13 and you prepare for week 15 and you prepare for week 18. The last week of the year, they prepare and get depth. And they develop the backups because they know at some point those backups are going to be started.
But that was his first year. And for his first year, he did a hell of a job.
That wasn't Kirk Cousins' first year.
Yeah, but that was the head coach's first year, man. I mean,
Kirk
he did a job.
Come on.
For his year, I think, we being a little unrealistic. I think he did a hell of a job his first year.
You trying to get the Titanic to corner like a Porsche. It ain't gonna happen. You can't make that big ship move like a Mazda Miata. It takes time to do that, man.
Hold on, Dave. So we're gonna really sit up here and say that we're giving excuses because he's a first-year head coach. I get it. Great. First-year head coach, but you got a veteran. Yeah. You got a
Hey, I didn't hit the mute. I didn't do that. I didn't make you go off the air. My bad. Go ahead.
You got an 11-year veteran quarterback that got 1 playoff win in 11 years. And this guy has the premier wide receiver on the outside, Justin Jefferson, who had almost 1,900 yards receiving. And you telling me they can't move the ball? Where did Dave go?
Where'd Dave go?
Oh, well.
Where'd Dave go?
You telling me that they can't move the ball and we giving excuses? I love it. They doing something about the defense because the defense was a feast or famine defense. They don't understand. They made a lot of plays towards the end of the game because they were the number 1 team in 1 possession games. They won the most 1 possession games in the NFL. That 13 wins could have easily have been 5 wins. You see what I'm saying? Kirk Cousins is supposed, with the amount of money that he's making, he's supposed to take it where he's not a great quarterback, but he's supposed to be that gap for the defense to make a few mistakes. If you pay a quarterback that type of money, he has to make up for those mistakes. He's not going to have the Baltimore Ravens or Chicago Bear defense at 85. So he knows that. So he has to be.
Tell me is you think Kirk Cousins has run his course in Minnesota?
Absolutely, Kirk Cousins. I'm not gonna blame all the lack of playoff success, in Minnesota on Kirk Cousins, but he has to take a bulk of it because guess what? I always say this on the show, and everybody listening: only person that got wins and lost by their stats is coaches and quarterbacks. Go look it up. Go look and see if the wide receiver got a win-loss record next to his stat. But I guarantee a quarterback got wins and losses next to his stats. They got playoffs, wins, and losses as well. You can look it up. I research this all day long. And right now, Kirk Cousins is not giving the Minnesota Vikings the ability to get deep into the playoff. I'm going to tell you a guy that got them deeper in the playoffs and they got rid of. And they thought they needed Kirk Cousins. Was Case Keenum. Case Keenum got them to the NFC Championship game. Case Keenum literally got him to the NFC Championship game, and then you go get Kirk Cousins in the next season. You go get Kirk Cousins thinking that's what you needed. Oh, Cody, is that Cody?
Cody, put your shade back on.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
they go get Kirk Cousins the next ensuing season, and guess what happened? They have declined. Yeah, they had a 13-win season, but they ain't been back to the NFC Championship game.
So you saying Kirk Cousins should be gone? You think they should give up on Kirk Cousins? Is there any team that you think that has plateaued with their quarterback?
Wow, I mean that's a real loaded question, and our viewers are not going to like this, but I think the Green Bay Packers have plateaued with Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers,
I think that's 3 years late.
But my thing, Aaron Rodgers has been his own demise. He's been a detriment to the Green Bay Packers ever since they drafted Jordan Love. He's up here getting upset about something that he was a beneficiary of when they had Brett Favre. They went and drafted him in the first round, and they had to play him at some point to see what they had. And Brett Favre still had a few years in the tank because he played 3 additional years after he left Green Bay. And actually, he was in the NFC Championship game. The last game that he played, was an NFC Championship game. He was one play away from, and they lost in overtime. He was one play away from going to the Super Bowl. So evidently, Brett Favre still had football left in him.
So Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, Carr, anyone else?
I think Matthew.
18.
I want to say Matthew Stafford, but I don't think they have anything else that they can put in the lineup. But Matthew Stafford looks like. I'm pretty sure the Rams would rather have Jared Goff at this point right now. No. Hey, if anybody listening, before anybody laughs, go look at what Jared Goff did quietly. Look what he did quietly and not have nearly the amount of weapons that he had with the Rams. Go look at his numbers and come back and check with me and then laugh.
They were a decent team. Now, as we talked about this, as we're going to get into the Super Bowl and kind of, thing, we got articles coming out. I have an article that I wrote, Arizona, A Tale of Two States, that I wrote about why it's important that we hear to this moment, what we're about to see on Sunday. The people who will be present in this game will be watching American history, but they will be watching Black history. Mm-hmm. And why it's so important, if you understand the history of the African-American quarterback. Jody and I got the good fortune through Dr. Adderley to go to the Hall of Fame. And one thing that stuck with me is when we saw Warren Moon, probably the most underrated quarterback in the history of this league. Okay. I will go out on a limb and say that. People don't know the first 4 or 5 years, Warren Moon was stuck up in the CFL playing quarterback because he was Black and they didn't think quarterback in this league till they saw him throwing crazy numbers up there. And they was like, well, they bring him in here and they bring him into an offense where he could just throw the ball when Houston had their offense. And it was just a perfect fit. It was a perfect fit, but it was 5 years late. He stayed and plays years, and he tells us that he could have played 4 or 5 more years.
And it's amazing that we actually talked to him. We talked to Warren Moon, And the guy still look like he play right now. He looks like he's in phenomenal shape.
Looks
I got a
great.
picture. I got a picture with him. We can show it at some point on the show. But this is what me and Tony. First of all, Tony, hey, outstanding article. It was very rich with knowledge in that article that people may not have known about. So when we do get the website up and all our fans can get on there and they can read these type of articles, because it enlightened me, and I'm a guy that studies and I love research of the game, and you enlightened me to look like, dang, this is I didn't know that. So it was a very, very educational piece too. And like I said, a lot of times understanding the game, you have to know the knowledge of the game. So going on to what you're saying, the historical aspect of this game is you do have the two African-American quarterbacks. So that means we're going to have an African-American quarterback that wins the game. Regardless of the outcome, somebody's going to be African-American, which is going to be, I think, only the fourth. If it's Mahomes, it's only still only going to be 3 African-American, because he would have 2. If Jalen Hurts, he would be the 4th African-American quarterback. And we talking about 57 years of the Super Bowl being in existence, we would only have potentially as many as 4 African-American quarterbacks that have won it. Now, what it does is, we in 2023, what it does is make it where those guys that normally have to change positions, they're not going to have to do that anymore. Because now we're looking at the draft, and we're looking at the top of the draft. We have 2 guys that, like, they go 1 and 2, look like it. It should be C.J. Stroud or Bryce Young. Either one you go with, you're not going to lose with either one of those guys. So now we got to look at that aspect. Like, so now these are guys y'all got to look at the quarterback position. But going back to Warren Moon, and we talked about this off the air, but we're going to talk about it on the air for a moment. Warren Moon, like he said, he broke all the records at Washington in college and didn't even get drafted. He didn't get drafted. He goes and plays in the CFL 4 to 5 years. He gets to the NFL, and what they do is they put him in what's called the run and shoot. A lot of historians know it was only 2 other teams that was running that offense. It was the Houston Oilers and it was the Atlanta Falcons that were running the run and shoot. So when you look at those rosters, they didn't have many tight ends on that roster. Matter of fact, I think they both only had 1 tight end and no fullback on the roster. What does that mean? That means that when they got in the game, who is Warren Moon historically known for? Being on the other side of the collapse when they played Buffalo, one of the biggest comebacks in history, and it was a backup quarterback in Frank Wright that beat him. And we got to look back, and reason why they lost that game is because they didn't have the potential to run the football and run the clock out. And that I do believe that year they did have a 1,000-yard running back in Lorenzo White. And I think that was his only 1,000 yards. He had 1,200 yards that season. That was his only 1,000-yard season of his career. But when you don't have a fullback and you don't have multiple tight ends to kind of set the tone and take that momentum out of that Buffalo Stadium, you couldn't do it. So Warren Moon is always going to be known as the quarterback on the other side of one of the biggest comebacks of all time.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that we lost good years with a quarterback like that. But we're just kind of, folks, what we're doing is we're kind of setting the tone for you, for the people who will be there this Sunday night to be able to witness this, because we've played ball. We've known that this could happen, and it did happen. And, you know, I like to thank the people who stuck with these quarterbacks. And what we don't see and what we know is going to happen, some kid is going to look at that and say, that could be me one day. And that may change that person's life. It may change the other person's life. You don't know. But representation matters. All this stuff, diversity, all the stuff that we talk about, and all the, I have a dream, and all that junk. Football now, and I'm just looking at it now, we're starting to see, and we're a little older now, Jody, but we're starting to see, you know, your kids' age and Cody's and them, when they our age, all this stuff is going to be normal to them.
That's what I wanted to allude to. We're going to get to where now, when we see this, it's not going to be headline news. I hate that it's 2023, and that's the headliner of this Super Bowl, is that they had 2 African-American quarterbacks in it. Mm-hmm. Because I'm a type person, if you can ball, you can ball. I don't care what color you are. I don't care what nationality. you can ball, and I want you on the field. I don't care if you're Chinese, African, Hispanic. If you can play ball, I need you on the field. I need you to help my team win. And I hate it, but I love it at the same time. I hate it because like this should have been happened. We in Super Bowl 57. We in Super Bowl 57, and we just now getting this matchup. But in me being a guy that look at the future of this league, it's gonna be normal, and then we all of all colors and all races is gonna be and enjoy it, and we're gonna have a different headline. We'll have a different storyline. You know what I mean? We talking about the Kelsey brothers playing in this game. You know, let's talk about, you know, Andy Reid's legacy. You know, what is his legacy? We're not even talking about this stuff because of the black quarterbacks headline and everything, and which they should.
Yeah, you know, they had a petition to the mom of the Kelseys flipped the coin. I thought that was kind of funny. Hey, folks, you guys who are parents, and if you had 2 kids, I don't even want to get out.
Tony, what do you do? Like, what do you do? Like, you love your babies.
Save your house. One has to sit in the Philly section, and one has to sit in the Kansas City section. So the families have to split. And if I were them, I would flip coins. And whoever lands on these coins, that's where you sit. And those are the jerseys that you wear. Because don't pick out on your own, because the other one is going to be in his feelings.
And that's what
I know I would be.
And see, that's what I'm saying. Like, what do you do? A mother's love. We know about a mother's love. Like, she loves her babies equally. Like, how do you, like, you're going to have one that's going to win. You're going to have one that's going to lose. You know that. So you know somebody's going to be hurt. Do you hug that one more? Do you hug the one that wins? It's like the mother, I feel bad for her. And it's reminiscent of back in the day when Ohio State played Notre Dame and AJ Hawk. I think AJ Hawk is married to Brady Quinn's sister. And she had the split jersey. You got your brother on one side, you got your potential husband on the other side. Like, how do you do that one? So it's like it's a first world problem to have, though. It's a first world problem to have where you got this success inside of your family, and it's a good time. But I do feel bad for Miss Kelsey. Hey, I am sorry that you got to make a decision. I'm like, man, do you even come to the game? Like, I don't know. Like, I don't know what you do.
Hey, Jody, how many hours are you from Kansas City?
About 9.
How many hours are you from Philly?
About 9.
So you kind of right in the middle of both.
Yeah.
Right, because I kind of thought it. That's why I asked. So you're right in the middle.
I'm about equal from both spots. Yeah.
From both spots, and one highway takes you right in, the other one takes you straight there. So in the middle, so you won't be biased. KC Masterpiece or Philly cheesesteak?
Woo! Oh, you gonna hit me with that one? Oh man.
Barbecue, that Kansas City barbecue or the Philly cheesesteak?
Hey, okay, all right. You gonna hit me with that? Hey, I hate it. I gotta answer it. I'm going KC barbecue, man. I'm going KC barbecue. Now I'm not knocking the cheesesteak. With that KC barbecue. And the reason why I take them is because in Columbus, we have a rib fest. So it's so many vendors that come from KC and they come and set up. Every year we got a rib fest, and I go up there and it's some bad boys that come up from KC.
Can I say this, Jody? Can I say we take the Philly cheesesteak and put the KC Masterpiece on it?
There we go. Problem solved. So you gonna put me on the spot. Because Philly cheese, hey, listen, them Philly cheesesteaks are banging. Them Philly cheesesteaks, listen, I had the one because we make our Philly cheesesteaks a little different in the Midwest over here than what Philly does. They put like that cheese, and I was like, man, I'm not eating that. And then when I took a bite, I'm like, whoa, this is different. This is different in a good way. So if you put me on the spot, man, I'm gonna take the KC. I'm gonna take the KC barbecue, but hey, them cheesesteaks, they go hard, man. Them cheesesteaks go hard.
I listed it. I mean, listen, I went down there, did research. It was Walt Disney versus Rocky. I mean, I was going through. It was Frazier versus what's your boy I forget the other boxer's name. I I had everybody listed, and I was just going off of what were the cities, what were they known for.
Kevin Hart against what's my guy Eddie Griffin.
Eddie Griffin. Oh, see, I didn't even
And
really.
Eddie Griffin from KC, and then you got Kevin Hart from Philly. So
Yeah, and I know that one thing I do know about KC, it was home. It's considered the home base of the Negro Leagues for baseball. I believe the I think the Hall of Fame is there, museum is there, I think, but that's one of the main places that where the Negro Leagues were in KC. So, folks, this is listen. We got all kinds of storylines. We may have a special guest on here on Thursday night, someone that would know about Super Bowls. We just this is a great time of year, and it's kind of sad because we're getting towards the end. This time next week, we will have known who the champion is. We will have another year that has passed. Great year. This is Super Bowl 57, folks. So we can get it. The next year's in Vegas, and the next year's is in New Orleans. So, folks, at this time of year, the Super Bowl is this is great. I mean, I think the NFL got lucky. They actually got the two number one seeds, which I don't know when the last time that happened. We were trying to look that up. I think it's been about like 8-9 years.
yeah, it been a long time. Yeah.
Yeah. So they actually got the two number one seeds. Their records were the same. They scored the same amount of points. And another factor, this is the lowest point spread, tied for the lowest point spread in history. Is sitting at 1. And that means nobody in the country knows which way to pull their money. Usually the money gets pulled on one side and one side over, because you can make an argument for each part of the game.
Right.
I just think it's just me. And I go back to what I always tell Jody. Jody and I, we argue about a whole bunch of stuff. And I always say at the end of the day, Jody, when all things are equal, it comes down to the quarterback.
Quarterbacks.
And I think Philly's pass rush is really good. But Mahomes being able to extend the plays lessens their pass rush. If Mahomes was a sitting target, and if Mahomes is a sitting duck, then the game is over. Philly will run over top of him. If Mahomes can move and extend the plays, because Philly's used to getting there, their pass rush gets there, and their secondary on the back half, not really that great. They're okay, but not really great when you can extend the play. That's what the game is going to come down to, because you can go on everything, how even everything is. It's going to come down to those two factors: Mahomes versus Philly's pass rush. You remember 2 years ago, that game was a blowout because Mahomes had no one in front of him. He had a backup in 3 positions on his offensive line. He doesn't have that this time. He's a little hobbled, but even being a little hobbled, if you can give him some time, he's been in these positions before. He's been down double digits in the Super Bowl. He's been down here and then AFC championships and come back. So Mahomes have been in these positions before. I think the experience of them, Mahomes, without Mahomes, this game is over. It's a blowout. And Philly will beat the living crap out of him. I think Mahomes is the difference in this game. Only because he can extend plays. If he's hurt and he can't extend plays, he is in trouble, because Philly will get home. And if Philly get home, how else are they going to score?
But see, this is the thing, and we do think about, and then this is my closing argument. I got a couple things. I do agree with you on that, but the key is Orlando Brown Jr. I'm really thinking Baltimore is really kicking themselves for letting him go to Kansas City within the same conference, and he's been the difference maker on that offensive line. Not to mention the center Humphreys. He's been pretty much one of the best centers in all of football. I don't think that his ankle is going to be a problem by become Super Bowl weekend. I mean, first of all, he's a warrior. He's going to have 2 weeks. I know a high ankle sprain is really hard to maneuver, but we know that he's going to have the best medical care. He's a gamer. We know that Mahomes, he wants as bad as anybody else wants it. The beauty about Kansas City is they can not have a running game and they can still beat you. That's one of the only teams out of the 32 teams in the NFL that I think has that ability where the running game is not going, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. I don't think any other team in the NFL can do that because we've seen, if you look at the numbers, they haven't ran the ball well. They ran it well enough to win, but if you look, and they're going to run it well enough to run the clock out if they get a lead, but they're not a team that's going to dazzle you with 150 yards rushing, unless it's Mahomes scrambling, getting those 57 and 65 yards rushing on the ground. But what we have to understand is they don't need a running game. And I'm gonna say this, and you know me, I'm always, if you can run the ball and stop the run, you got a chance to win. Kansas City is the only one that debunks that thought process. They're the only team in the league that if they don't run the ball for 1 yard, they still have a chance to win that game. So with that being said, we know Philly has 2 big, massive D tackles in the middle. Actually, 3. If you want to add Jordan Davis, Ndamukong Suh, and Fletcher Cox. So you got 3 guys they can rotate. If they're not there they're there mostly to kind of rush the passer. So I can see Ndamukong Suh playing more minutes than probably Jordan Davis because of his ability to rush the passer. So if you put those guys out there, they're going to try to rush the passer. But I think with Mahomes and them having a quick passing game can tire those guys out. And we know that they got great corners, but their safeties are suspect, Tony. If you got any vulnerability, is over the top with those safeties. I think that Mahomes can probably potentially beat those safeties, but they won't have Hartman in this game. He will not play. He's on IR. He will not play in this game. He's not. Juju Smith-Schuster will play, but he won't. Kadarius Tony will play.
Okay, so he has 2 more than what he had last game.
And then they're going to add Clyde Edwards-Helaire is activated for this game. So that's another weapon that they're going to have out of the backfield. So Philly is loaded. Don't get me wrong. Philly is loaded. Kansas City is loaded. It's going to be a hell of a game. I get my predictions on Thursday. I'm not going to get my predictions tonight. But what I want to say in closing, Tony, is when the season starts, we be thinking we have like 20 and 25 good quarterbacks. But when the season ends, we got like 5 or 6. We got 5 or 6 quarterbacks that's worth anything. You know how bad the quarterback position is when you got Huntley making the Pro Bowl with 2 touchdown passes. We got Huntley. That right. I want to say this. This is my closing argument. The NFL, y'all should have did something different. Y'all should have added another position. It was only a flag football game, but to announce that Huntley is a Pro Bowler, come on, y'all. I know he was even like, what? Like, dude, I'm not even a starter on this team. And yeah, I would have been more comfortable if y'all gave it to Jacoby Brissett. You see what I'm saying? I would have been like, okay, at least that makes a little bit more sense than put him in a Pro Bowl. I mean, the guy had 2 touchdown passes, Tony.
His team lost, didn't it?
Yeah, he lost.
They in a damn flag football by putting.
I mean, and my thing is, who cared about a flag football game? I think when what you do is you dilute the Pro Bowl. Now I'm hearing people like, oh, Pro Bowls don't mean. Pro Bowls to me are very sentimental. Pro Bowls are you being the best of your league. And now you putting guys that I know he was a replacement, but you could have left that replacement. You could have left that and put another player in there that deserved it. And he knows. I mean, if you ask Huntley, he gonna if he keeping it real, he'd be like, nah, I didn't deserve that. I wasn't even the starter of my team because if Lamar Jackson healthy, he's on the bench. You see what I'm saying? So we got quarterbacks in the league. Let's stop looking at what the quarterbacks did last year. I'm looking at when I come into next year, I'm a what have you done for me lately type of person when it comes to quarterbacks because we got guys living on 3 or 4 years ago. Russell Wilson living on what he did in Seattle. You know, Aaron Rodgers living on his 2 MVPs. You see what I'm saying? We got guys that's living. Andy Dalton, I don't know what he's living off of, but he keep getting starts. He keep getting starts in his lead. I don't know what he keep getting starts. If the season started right now, Tony, he will be the starting quarterback for the New Orleans Saints again. And this guy's never won a playoff game. He's been in the league, 12 years?
Is he a modern day Jesse?
Is he the modern day? You know who he is? He's the Fitzpatrick, the Fitzmagic of this league. A guy that played for several teams. He been on 5 different teams in 5 years. The Cincinnati Bengals, the Chicago Bears, the Dallas 4 teams. Chicago Bears, Pittsburgh. the Saints, the Cowboys, and well, he's been on 4 different teams in 4 years or 5 years, whatever you want to say.
Jody, can I say this? I have had people complain about the Pro Bowl and how bad it was. Well, folks, the Pro Bowl died in 2006 when Sean Taylor hit the punter. Yeah, for the Pro Bowl. It was 2005, 2006 when Sean Taylor hit that punter. The Pro Bowl was essentially over. Okay, so then they started playing what we would call, light tackle, and everybody, all fans said, "Oh man, you might as well be playing flag." Guess what? They NFL heard you, and they answered you. And so what they give you, they actually gave you flag. But here's the thing: it was so bad that it was good because they sold the place out.
Hold on, but Tony, this is the problem. I'm a Browns fan, and guess who got hurt in the game?
Yeah.
Myles Garrett dislocated his freaking toe in this game. Like
in other competitions, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was in another competition. But my thing is, if you're gonna go back to competitions, why don't we go back to the fastest man and people that literally running the fastest man like Darryl Green did back in the day and Ron Brown did back in the day, guys like that, Super Duper ran in that. Like, if we're gonna do it, let's go back to that. Let's go back to actually having the strongest man when your guy Larry Allen smashed the record on bench pressing. That's what I want to see. All this other stuff hitting the can, I don't want to see all that. I'm not watching that. So let's watch something okay, NFL, if you're listening, if we're going to go back to skills challenges, let's go back to actually getting the fastest people so we can know who is, so they can quit all this talk about who the fastest person in the NFL. Prove it. Darryl Green proved it many years why he was the fastest guy.
Hey, Jody, can we get the pros versus the Joes in a flag game? Now, if you really want to do it, have national trials all around the country and get the 20 best Joes to go against the pros, and the winner plays for $500,000. Now let's do that, and let's see how well that goes. I bet that place will be packed up.
Only way I'm gonna disagree with that is these guys ain't under contract. That these Joes, if they go out there hurt, if you go out there and hurt my quarterback, even if it's by accident, I'm pissed off with you, and it's nothing we can get back.
Wait a minute, we're playing flag.
Yeah, but you can hit me.
Flag, then you gonna get hurt.
No, but it'd be different if you playing against another person under contract. No, I don't want my starting quarterback playing against the guy.
I tell you what, you sign off. All you guys see, there's a way to do stuff to make sure that your contract is protected. If
it ain't about
stuff. Play some real dudes. If we're gonna play flag, let's play flag against some of the best, and let some of the best see them.
I can't do that. I like what your sentiments are. I can't do that. You're not going, as a fan, if I got my starting quarterback Deshaun Watson playing in this game and some dude that work at a car dealership accidentally hit knees with Deshaun Watson, he's out for the year, I'm gonna be pissed.
It's flag. They're not going.
Guess what? Myles Garrett thought it was flag too when he got a dislocated toe.
But he dislocated his toe. But they're not going. You're not allowed to block. If you notice that, you're not allowed to do all that.
Man,
so
listen.
It ain't nothing but a glorified 7-on-7.
But Tony, you got to think about it. These guys are gonna have a point to prove when they go against these pros, and they're gonna go hard. You might have people colliding, heads colliding. If we're gonna do that, listen, I would rather it be against another pro than it be against a guy that tomorrow he's gonna be back at his regular job like me.
Hey man. Don't you think that makes it interesting? That's good. That's must-see TV, dog, because he will be back at that job tomorrow. But today, on this day, he gets to go. Now, we know he can't check Tyreek Hill. We know damn well Lamar Jackson get on that corner, it's over. I mean, let's be real. But it would be nice to see. That's something I would want to pay to see.
I'm not paying to see.
Remember, those guys, whether you believe it or not, they got pride too. They're not gonna let somebody come off the street and think and sucker them or whatever. That dude that you say can't cover, he ain't giving up nothing on the corner.
Hold on, wait a minute. So what does the pro like? That's a situation. I remember I played ball and they would have like a young dude come and play. So I'm a senior in high school. They got freshmen coming. So no matter what I do to this freshman, he could be one of the highly touted freshmen coming in. If I bust him up in practice and I hit him for 30, everybody gonna say that's what you're supposed to do, Jody. He's a freshman. But then if he get up there, he get the best of me, and he give me that work. Well, Jody, now I got so much to lose. Now, am I supposed to be starting still? Come on, man. That's how they're gonna look at that. You can't let these guys come in and play what you do for a living, and they come in because one of them dudes are gonna bust you up off the street because they can play too.
First of all, if you ever watch Real Flag on the high level all around the country, those guys are actually pretty good.
Yeah.
And what it will do, it will make the pros actually really go out and practice flag because they don't practice. They just showed up and played, having fun, this and that. If we're talking about really getting some entertainment, to me, that's entertainment. Now, I understand you saying that people get hurt, this and that. But see, I'm one of the ones, I come from old school. Let's roll. We play anybody, any place, anytime.
I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna go. See, you the same person that said you shouldn't play in bowl games because of your money, but now you saying they should play in an all-star game against somebody that gonna go back and sell cars tomorrow. No.
Hey, the fans tune in, but the fans tune in anyway. And until, this is something that I would love to see, but folks, it won't happen. The fans sold that place out. They had 60, 70,000 people in there. It got to be the record for the world for the biggest flag tournament ever.
You're going to see it because you want to see these professional athletes compete. You don't care who won the game. You got Peyton Manning and Eli Manning coaching the game. You got an opportunity to get autographs and pictures. That's what they're paying for. They're not paying for that stuff they did on the field. They paying for the experience. They paying to get to meet these guys. That's what I would have went out there for. You get interviews, you get pictures. You know what I'm saying? You get all that.
Getting way up top, you don't get nothing but see little dots running around.
Shit, if you get there early enough, hey, but I gotta get out of here,
Jody. That's what they probably got. But hey, folks, we will catch you Thursday night for our MVPs, our picks, everything, and get you ready for Super Bowl 57 live from Glendale. Hopefully we got some people that's be in Glendale. They may be able to tag us in and go out. I think I got one guy that's going to be out there Thursday night. So hopefully he'll be able to come on. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. See you guys. All right, Jody.
Peace.
Keep it real over there.